Hi, this is Musa. I want to show you a game that was just played between Ruy and Liren in the Baku 2015 World Cup. This is round 4.2. In 4.1, Ruy lost a winning game with black pieces against Ding, and he's in a must-win situation in order to qualify for quarterfinals. In this game he had white pieces and he faced a Ruy Lopez or Spanish opening, and after castling bishop e7 and d3, sort of a closed Ruy Lopez, b5, bishop b3, natural moves, and d6. Ruy chose a3. He had a4, immediate a4, rook to e1, knight c3, or even a3. He chose a3 here. Double zeros for black and knight to c3. And black here could have played bishop to g4, but to prevent bishop to g5 he played h6, and h3 the same from white to prevent bishop to g4. And now the theme or the big idea for black is to play rook to e8, bring the bishop to f8, and plays bishop to e6, exchange bad bishop for good bishop, while white will continue for the moment to attack the queen side, open the queen side, have some control, and perhaps block the bishop e6 exchanging idea with knight to d5. Let's see. Rook to e8 now, bishop d2, bishop to f8, continuing with the same idea, and now a4, surprisingly attacking the queen side. And now the idea is simple. White wants to open the b file or a file, and the rook is undefended. White will take twice, and the black best reply would have been either b4, attacking the knight, or knight to a4. But here Liren chose rook to b8, slightly inaccurate, and now exchanges. This is the theme of the game. This is black's first problem. And now rook to e1, quiet move. And black also here missed knight to b4. This is preventing the knight jump or block to d5, and rather played bishop to e6, and now immediately avoiding the exchange of the bishop on b3. And black here shifted to solve this problem by playing first knight to d7. The idea is that if now black plays knight to e7, then white will take on f6, and the only reply is pawn takes knight. So first knight to d7, removing the target, and now c3. The queen defends the bishop in case black now plays knight e7, trying to exchange the good knight. So indeed black plays knight e7, and now back knight e3, refusing the exchange of knights, but welcoming also the exchange of bishops. Bishop takes bishop, queen takes bishop, and now knight to g6. And there is two ideas for black now, and one is knight to f4 and knight to c5. Knight to f4 will trigger g3, but h3 for the moment is undefended, and knight to c5 will attack the queen. The black queen will go to d7, also pressuring h3. So we chose g3. It's a good positional move, preventing knight f4, but knight c5 comes, attacking the queen. Queen to c2 and queen to d7, attacking h3. But white here attacks the knight first. Knight goes back to e6, and now the idea is simple for black. Black wants to play c6, then d5. If there is exchanges on d5, he will take with the c6 pawn, obviously. Then maybe tries to march the pawn to d4, get rid of the weakness, open the game, free the game. But white is not gonna stay on watch. White will either march with d4 or even h4, h5, attacks the knight, then target e5, while the knight is still on e6, if it's possible or applicable. But we chose d4 now, and after e takes d4, it's unavoidable. C takes d4 and c5 immediately, trying to open the center, but we close the center and forces knight to d4. Knight takes knight, pawn takes knight, and knight to f5. Knight to f5 is necessary because the h3 weakness. And now if black plays rook b c8, the queen will not go to d3 because the knight will then go to e5, as you can see, and then if queen takes, the knight f3 forks the king and the queen. So it's gonna be a bad move if white plays queen d3, but he will rather play queen b1 or queen b3 in case rook b c8 is played. But black here switches move and mixes knight e5 instead of rook b c8, and now the king goes to g2. It's gonna guard h3 because g6 is coming, and f3 also, and now rook b c8. Queen to b3 also guards the d3 from the knight attacking the rook. Also queen to b2 was a bad move because of the knight fork. And now from black d3, rook to a2. There were different alternatives, but rook to a2 will later on try to guard the bishop in case knight c4 attacking the bishop, so it will take on d2. Now rook to a8, and white should have exchanged. Wei here should have exchanged the rooks and then attacks with either f4 or bishop to f4. After the knight moves, the queen will take on d3 and white will be a clear pawn up, but Wei rather chose to control the a file, and it's a good positional move, not a bad move at all. Rook takes rook, exchanging rooks, and queen to c8. Knight to e3, expecting g6 in the future, and g6 is indeed played. Black will expand on the king side and try to make white busier defending his king side, but white will be faster. As you can see, bishop is trying to eliminate the knight, and h5 indeed. This is eliminating the knight's access to g4 too. Bishop takes knight, rook takes knight. Obviously after queen takes d3, the pawn will march, so this is blocking the pawn with a pawn. And now queen to e8, targeting the e4 pawn, but white really doesn't care. He plays rook to e2, and black immediately played bishop to g7. Why? Because if rook takes e4, the killer move is knight to g4, and of course rook and queen attacking the rook on e4, and the knight threatens a fork, forking the whole family. So if pawn takes, then white is rook up and will be 2 pawns up, and this rook is versus a bad bishop. So after rook to e2, bishop to g7, now the knight moves and the e4 is defended. f5 now, f3, pawn exchanges, and rook to e7. As you can see, black is limited and white is a clear pawn up, and now knight to d4, threatening just one move to win. So bishop must take the knight, queen takes bishop, and rook to e5. Queen d3 attacks the pawn if the queen move, but king to h7, and we have time trouble maneuvers. Nothing really important in these moves. Pawn exchanges after queen takes, rook switches to the f file, rook attacks the queen after queen to g5, queen to f2, and the idea is to force queen exchanges. King g7, rook takes d6, the pawn is gone, and now after h4 and king to h3, pawn takes pawn, queen to f5 forces queen exchanges for real, because if something like rook to e5, then it's a mate in a few moves. So after queen to f5, queen must take, and after rook to e4, check, taking the pawn, rook takes b4. Now white is really clear pawn up. White king is better than black king, and at this stage white had the best move, which is rook to b3 to block the pawn and centralize the king. But really, let's see this as an example. After the check, if the king takes, then king will go to c6 here, and white is winning. But Ruy here chose to centralize the king and to produce one of the best moves in this tournament. After b3, d7, beautiful tactic. Rook to b3, sacrificing the rook and pretty much forcing black to take. Checks, a few checks, and Liren resigned after seeing that his king will be forked with the rook, and the pawn will be also taken. At this stage, king to f3 and queen to f5, Liren resign. The next move is perhaps forking the rook and the king, so it's a mate in a few moves. King queen versus king. So we will be seeing further games tomorrow. It's gonna be up to 4.9, which is 7 games more. This is the maximum. The last game will be Armageddon, in case these players keep drawing. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.